Yesterday there was a discussion between Sister Julin and Sister Saikyang about the list of 51 afflictive states. They have both sent me this list, so we can briefly take a look. Share screen. This is the one Sister Julin sent me. It's from the website of Venerable Thupten Children. The title here, Buddhist Psychology, Mind and Mental Factors. Is it too small? Maybe I zoom in. Yeah, can you see this? The 51 mental states. Divided into this 5 omnipresent mental factors, 5 object ascertaining mental factors, 11 virtuous mental factors, 6 root afflictions, 20 secondary afflictions, 4 variable mental factors. Yeah. Let's just take a look briefly at the beginning of the list. 5 omnipresent mental factors: feeling, discrimination, intention, contact, mental engagement. That is the 5 omnipresent mental factors. Okay, now we take a look at the Saikyang's list. Share screen. Cetasika Sangaha. The first one is contact. Second one is a little bit too small. Maybe I zoom in. Okay, slightly better, I guess, but a little bit blurry. But I will read it out to you. The first one is contact. The second one is feeling. The third one is perception. The fourth one is volition, motivation. Can also be called intention. The fifth one is ekagata, one-pointedness. The sixth one is mental life faculty. The seventh one is attention, manasikara. So I think just from this first 5 and the first 7, I feel like they are different lists. From what I heard from Saikyang, this is from Abhidhamma. Is that correct? Theravada Abhidhamma. Okay. Yeah. And what Sister Jolene mentioned, I'm not sure which one is the source. Let me take a look.
I believe it's from the Yogacara school.
Yogacara.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. And it also seems that not all 51 are afflictive mental states. I think it's 51 mental factors, and then like some of them are afflictions. So in the list, it is stated root afflictions, or I think primary afflictions, and then secondary afflictions, and so on. So I think only a subset of them, like a subset of them are afflictive mental states. The 51 are like all mental states. I think so, at least based on the text that you shared on the website. We might have to dig deeper into that to understand how the terminology is being used. But anyway.
Yes. Thanks for sharing. Anyway, I won't go too much into all these lists. If you're interested, I will share it later in the group chat. You can read and compare on your own. I like to get back to the main text, if you will. Okay, this is the more grounding text. Let's see, yesterday we started to explore this is a very long paragraph. We start to explore some example, especially for this one. It does nothing but note. I gave the example of firstly, itch on the skin, the urge to scratch the itch. and just watching the itch arises, the itch stays for a while, and then the itch will suddenly pass. Not suddenly, but it will gradually subside, and then eventually it will pass away. I also gave the example of showering, cold shower especially. Yeah, whenever I'm not mindful, I'm really aversive towards the cold shower. But when I make a mental note before I turn on the shower, before I turn on the cold shower, I make a mental note to be mindful of the sensation that I felt. So when I turn on, water starts dripping. It's cold, yeah, it's cold, it's true. But I make a mental note to notice cold, cold, cold. In that way, surprisingly, aversion doesn't arise, at least not that much. So this is one way, some of the ways you can practice mindfulness. In fact, any daily activities that you do, you can try to apply mindfulness and then see how your mind works. Observe your mind, like Saikyang mentioned. Yeah. What you find out could be interesting as well. Any of you would like to share any experience when you are mindful, when you are not mindful? One other example, let's say driving. For example, if you're driving not mindfully, like playing around with your phone or calling or texting, then you are not mindful while driving. And that can have a dire consequences. Very straightforward example. You need to be mindful, aware of your surrounding, and then not crash into people, let's say.
Walking also, walking.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good example, correct, walking. You can walk mindfully or you can walk with your phone, playing around with your phone.
If you don't walk mindfully, usually I get fall, no?
Ah, yes. Fall, you will hurt yourself.
Yeah.
If not, you might bump into someone and then you will hurt others. And even if you don't hurt anyone, sometimes, there are cockroaches running around in the ground. You might accidentally step on them as well. Yeah. Be it a dead one, be it a live one, you wouldn't want to step on both, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Quack, for sharing. Very good example.
Yeah, the walking also after a rainy weather like December, we have to watch out for snail. Yeah, that one quite a lot. Yeah. I also thought of two examples. One is brushing teeth early in the morning when you brush your teeth, one by one, just brush. Yeah, that one can be very interesting. Then the other one is quite easy, is also the food that we like is bananas. When you eat bananas, it's very nice. So you get to enjoy and also watch the mind. Thank you.
So how do you apply mindfulness when you eat banana? Are you like, yeah?
You can start to, of course, like Sifu will teach us in the racing one, you can smell the banana first and you can touch the texture. Then you of course start to peel. Then you watch the texture, because banana is very rich in the smell, right? So I think that one can actually trigger more than the raisin and the texture. Then as you bite, of course, then you put, of course, I think when you smell already, you salivate. Then you start to bite and chew the texture again, then you go through the whole process. So it can be a very meditative session by itself by eating bananas. Yeah.
That's true. Yes. Banana. And what was your first example again?
Brushing teeth.
Oh, brushing teeth. Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah. It's good in the sense I find, because it's early in the morning. So let's say wake up, forgot about being mindful, then at least you go to the the basin, you wash face and you brush teeth. Oh, you took out, and you can remember. Yeah.
Yes, brushing teeth. Yeah, Shifu always likes to give this example. Like, when you daydream, do we usually think about brushing our teeth? Most of the time not, because when we brush our teeth, it's not so memorable. And then we do it every day, we kind of become mechanical. So when you're mindful, brushing your teeth, yeah, you could have an interesting meditative experience as well. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Good example. Brushing your teeth and eating banana. In the paragraphs below, more to come, especially with regards to feeling. We will explore this again. Yeah, about how the feeling arises when we do any activity. But thanks for sharing. Any others?
I don't know if this counts as an example. I love the language Bhikkhu Bodhi uses to just describe the process. Plastered over with conceptual paint. That is, I don't know, the language just captures the reality so truly and so aptly, right? And then there are other words as well, like creating the embellishments, and then the task of right. It's in that paragraph. The defilements create the embellishments. Second line. Yeah, and then a few lines later, the task of right mindfulness is to clear up the cognitive field. So, and then to practice mindfulness is not so much of doing, sometimes it's of undoing, not thinking, not associating, not planning, not imagining. So I don't know, I mean, to me at least, imagination, the word imagining is powerful, because that's what I often do. Sometimes when we're doing something, or if we hear something or we see something, or there's a situation, then I start to imagine all the thoughts of the people involved. Okay, maybe this person is thinking this. What is his reasoning? Okay, and then maybe that person is trying to, or maybe intending a certain intention. Or what is she trying to plan, or what is she trying to achieve, and so on. And I start to imagine, like imagine their own those people's thoughts and so on. So I don't know, yeah, imagining, we start to add in the drama, yeah, the plot, the imagined plot, and so on, the narrative of the story. Yeah, so I don't know, to me that is something I often do, especially if there are strong feelings associated with a situation. If I feel particularly happy or like particularly sad, and then and then imagination starts. And then, yeah, plastered over with conceptual paint. Well, I don't know, like I was just captured by the word plastered. It's so real, right? There's this layer of thick paint that is sort of plastered over, and it's so sticky. It's so sticky, and it's really hard to sort of sort out the paint from the reality. So that is for me, this language really captures the challenge of mindfulness, and the thickness, I don't know whether that's the right word, the thickness and the stickiness of how our conceptual imagination gets imposed onto our perception of reality. So to me, that language is powerful. And finally, I just want to comment, the task of right mindfulness is to clear up the cognitive field. So cognitive clarity is what we want to achieve here, right? It's the outcome or the benefit of right mindfulness. At least that's the claim, right? At least there's a promise, right? The path is meant to increase our cognitive clarity. And how does that feel like? Sometimes we get a taste of it, right? For those of us who practice right mindfulness or practice meditation, sometimes we get to see things a little bit more clearly, and that taste of it is actually quite powerful when we actually get to see it. Well, at least for me, it doesn't happen often. I hope for you guys it does happen more often, I hope. But yeah, for me, it doesn't happen that often. And I don't know, like when I do get a taste of it, I find myself like, wow, this is so real, and I find myself wanting to how do you put it? I find myself wanting to have more of it, in a sense of like, I want to sustain that perception of reality more, like more consistently. So at least that's the challenge for my spiritual practice. Yep.
Very good. Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts, especially regarding these paragraphs. Two things I'd like to comment. Firstly, about Bhikkhu Bodhi's language. Yeah, I'm glad you noticed it. The reason Bhikkhu Bodhi writes this way, he had a PhD in philosophy. If you know philosophy students, the way they write, the way they think is ever so precise. And the word that they use, they have to convey the exact intended meaning. This is one reason that Bhikkhu Bodhi's writings or teachings attracts a lot of intellectuals. The words that he used can be very PhD, very chim, and just one word can convey a lot of meaning. Yeah, this is one. And not just that, I also like Wei Ken mentioned, plastered over with conceptual paint. The way he conveyed it really captures the intended meaning and the reality as well. And not just his language is precise, he can also be poetic sometimes. So reading his essay, actually, I find is never boring for me. But there's a downside to it. My friend told me, whenever I read the Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya, whenever I read the text, I always need to have dictionary besides me. It's so tiring to read his text. Just after one or two sentences, I have to look up the dictionary. Yeah, this is the so-called downside. Yeah. It can be off-putting to some people who are not that familiar with, especially with English. Yeah, but I find it really rewarding reading Bhikkhu Bodhi's text. Yeah, that's the reason I chose this material as well. Yes.
I mean, this is just hard work, lah. Like, it's rewarding, like reading the suttas itself. There are many technical terms, and the Buddha was a philosopher. The Buddha was a poet in how he used his language. Reading the suttas is a lot of work to like understand the poetic language, to understand the philosophical views and the philosophical framework and so on. So I would say that's just hard work, which is what you said, Marcel. Like, it's rewarding. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with philosophy. I always enjoy like reading a lot of great works of philosophy, and the suttas themselves are great works, right? And yeah, that's just the work required to dig deep into the texts, and their work is rewarding. Yeah, like once you get deep into the text and you have that framing in your mind of how the approach works, how the framework works, how the language works, then it's like entering a whole new world, really.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. But I love philosophy too, but we will take this offline. I'm curious what kind of philosophy you're into. The second one I want to comment on your comment was about some meditative experience. I never experienced the very deep states, but at least during a long retreat, I can notice a lot of difference between my normal modes of life and the retreat mode. Not sure, Wei Ken, have you went to a retreat or a long retreat?
Not long retreats, not long ones. I've been on shorter ones. It's a bit tricky. The timing is, the timing of my work is a bit tricky. Hopefully one day, if I'm freer or if I can get the schedule time off work, then yeah, I could go longer ones. Yeah.
Oh, don't you get to clear your leaves? Like, you don't get to travel, right?
It's a long story. It's a bit complicated. Yeah, it's my work. Yeah. It's my work thing. It's a bit harder to schedule time. But I do see the benefit of longer retreats, and I do want to do one. So when I talk short, I'm just talking like 1 or 2 days. Yeah, that's my experience. So I want to do longer ones, like 1 week. and
Yes.
so on,
Yes.
or longer.
Yeah, because you mentioned you would like to have more of this kind of experience. So this is one way you can try to achieve that. At least me and Saikian has experienced the 7 days retreat. It was really, I would say, life-changing. Yeah. I think this is where the power of the Buddhism comes into play, when you actually practice the heart of Buddhism, meditation. Yes. So if you have the chance, and not just Waken, any of you, you can please try it out. Long retreat. Actually, just 2019, I went to Malaysia for 9 days retreat with Ajahn Brahmali. Yeah, that was a good one too. In BGF, Buddhist Gem Fellowship. Yes. Today, we don't have to go through the text. Some of the sharings were good. And it's 8 a.m. now. Any of you would like to share anything else? Okay, if not, we will continue with the text tomorrow. Okay, let's do a dedication. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。Amitabha. Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Have a philosophical Friday ahead. Thanks everyone for sharing, for participating. Today is a good sharing, I think. Sean May said, Marshall can share in chat group later, please. Thanks. Yes, I will share together. I will share later.
Marcel, I'm referring to the diagram,
Which
the,
diagram?
the table. The
Oh, the
table.
table. Yeah.
The two lists, I
51
think.
states. Yeah.
Yes. I will send both. Okay. Okay, thanks everyone.
Buddhist philosophy, Abhidhamma Buddhist philosophy.
Oh, Abhidhamma is slightly different. Anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thanks everyone. I'll see you guys again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.